As artificial intelligence becomes an increasingly important part of the way government operates, a critical issue for federal officials is how best to balance the opportunities of AI with some of the risks, while also ensuring that the right safeguards are in place to manage a new era of technology. Joining us to talk about that today are two distinguished chief technology officers who have been engaged in the federal space for a number of years. Anthony Vultaggio, chief technology officer at SMX, and Jason Payne, chief technology officer federal at Microsoft. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Jason, I'd like to start with you. We see a lot of optimism for AI in the market right now. And how do you guide your clients to start the process of integrating AI into their operations effectively? And then, it certainly seems like there's a lot of challenges around the workforce as well as the opportunities for innovation and culture.
Yeah, so I love this question, Wyatt, because I think it really highlights the three pillars of any technical transformation, which is really workforce, innovation, and culture. And for me, all those transformations start from the center of culture, right? We need to have a culture that embraces change and wants to adopt new technologies to really drive those innovations. And that's only capable and possible, frankly, through a workforce that has the skilling and the readiness. AI transformation has an additional wrinkle to it, though, that we're seeing a lot of customers engage with Microsoft on, which is the elements of how you responsibly and ethically apply these technologies. And so I'm proud to say that Microsoft has been at the forefront of responsible AI adoption for about the past 10 years. And the frameworks that we have published and support wholly align to the President's executive order on safe, secure, and trustworthy AI development and use, as well as the NIST AI risk management framework. And one of the artifacts that we really help and provide customers with is a maturity framework or a maturity model around responsible AI adoption. And that allows government agencies to assess where they are today and where they want to be, and provides tactical and tangible activities they can undertake to advance their responsible and ethical uses of the technology to really bolster their workforces, help drive that innovation, and instill that AI culture.
And Anthony, how are you guiding your clients?
Well, so to add on top of the frameworks that Microsoft has invested in creating, SMX has built accelerators for the client to build on the known good quantity of solutions and accelerators that'll get people into AI with a higher success rate. So to go in and transform their data, load it, make sure it's prepared for AI or generative AI solutions, to go in and put the guardrails in place to ensure that the prompts that people are engaging with the AI with stay within those regulatory boundaries that Jason had identified, as well as providing a lab environment so people can bring their data and experiment to identify the use case that they're trying to satisfy can actually be met by the AI implementation that they're targeting. So they can bring their data, they can chunk it, they can score it to make sure that it's ranked correctly. They can engage in prompt engineering to figure out how the users are going to interact with that data to get the correct results. And then after they determine that course of action that's going to lead them to that successful outcome, they can lift up that lab environment and run it straight into their production with a higher guarantee of a successful implementation.
Next, I'd like to ask, you both have had opportunities to work with government customers. Can you speak to some of the use cases that, you're seeing where there's been some real progress and some success? So, Anthony?
So where we're seeing a lot of success in our client base is really a slow adoption of AI. So they're looking at where they can serve their constituents and accelerate outcomes for those constituents, where they can analyze data, leveraging repeatable processes with known outcomes, and where they can essentially minimize their risk for any type of hallucinations or perceived discriminatory results within an AI result. So where we see a lot of that is we see it baked into security. So we have a lot of federal clients and DoD clients who are baking AI into their security implementations. We see that within constituent services where you have public health, transportation, and other services that constituents consume from their community, where they're able to go to a one-stop implementation and query their services from across the government. And then we're seeing a lot of implementation in standard help desk services. Someone wants to understand the status of their ticket, who they need to talk to next, etc. So rather than waiting for someone to get on the phone, they can directly interface with that virtual help agent.
Jason?
Yeah, for sure. So similar to Anthony and SMX, we're seeing consistent patterns in AI. I think right now the applications and use cases are ever expanding as everyone is experimenting with the technology. I think first and foremost, we see personal use cases, right? It's sort of the usage of products to enhance your individual productivity. And so we certainly see that with Microsoft 365 Copilot and products like GitHub Copilot to really advance developer productivity. Frankly, today after Fed Talks, I'm going to use Copilot to catch up on all the meetings that I'm missing and the emails that I'm missing this morning, right? The second one that we see is this, again, what Anthony described, this pairing of services to technology or capabilities within citizens. And one of the best examples of that, I think that we've had the pleasure of supporting at Microsoft, is the National Library of Medicine, which allows patients to be matched to clinical trials and drug treatments that they might not otherwise have known about. And so it's a great use of the technology to work for those communities in need for something that might not have been readily available to them. The last interesting use case that we're seeing now is around fraud, waste, and abuse, which is, we all know government programs are delivered and we want them to be delivered to those who need them the most. And so while the technology is also fantastic at doing that matching, it's also great at doing back-end analysis to help us understand if any of that is being redirected or misappropriated in any particular way. And so this application of the technology to look for that and provide more effective services is another expanding use case area.
Sounds like that can have a lot of impact.
Absolutely.
Next, I'd like to know, how significant is the risk of not pursuing an AI strategy at agencies? Anthony?
Well, I'd actually like to refer back to a quote from my CEO, Peter Lamontagne, which is, we can't wait for decisions. And the context of that was from a previous Fed Scoop or Scoop News, Fed Talks, a brief on great competition. And so the context of that is when you're a business or you're a federal agency or either in the IC or defense space, you can't have manual processes in place, not leveraging technologies that give you first mover advantage. So as much as you consume or can consume AI to automate known courses of actions that give you that first mover advantage, keeps us from being behind our competitors. So we see within those spaces, again, where that first mover is critical, that the adoption of AI is key to continuing their successful practices.
Yeah, and Jason?
Yeah, I think I'll build on what Anthony shared there. I think one of the key areas we see as a risk in not adopting AI is really in cyber defense, right? I think it's no surprise at this point that the attacks that we see from, certainly nation states and other threat actors out there have increased in scope, scale, and severity. Generative AI is being used to increase sort of the sophistication of phishing attacks, right? And we know a lot of times now that cyber events start from all of us humans. Certainly can start from software vulnerabilities, but that's the easiest, weakest point to get into a network. And at this point, we see the need to defend against those at, frankly, machine speed, because not only the attackers using generative AI to get in the front door, but then using AI and automation techniques to expand and proliferate within an agency or within networks. And so it's critically important that we adopt AI in the cyberspace for defense at meet that machine speed, and then combine that with automation as well, right? Oftentimes, I think there's a conflation of AI and automation together. They're really two that need to work hand in hand to solve some of the hardest challenges that we have, and particularly cyber is a big threat that we face. And AI at this point is really one of the only ways that we keep pace with the adversaries.
Yeah, certainly the stakes are high, but we also know we're not alone in trying to move AI forward, so we really can't afford to wait. So the last question I have for you is, as we look ahead to 2025, where are you seeing areas that you anticipate positive implications of AI and the challenges that we face? Anthony, I'll start with you on that one again.
So as Jason referred to, is especially within cyber, it is critical. It can make such a difference there to be able to have that first mover to contain those threats to your systems, to have the automated response to mitigate the immediate threat. So you see that now being baked into more and more products, especially within the Microsoft suite of services. You see AI being built into capabilities like Defender, Sentinel, etc., that really bring security out to the edge of your networks. But beyond that is building out, again, business intelligence capabilities and citizen services. We're seeing a slower and slower uptake of that, but within the implementations, we're having very high client satisfaction rates and very high, again, additional implementations that are pulling in peripheral data and services to, again, build out the complexity of capabilities that are offered to constituents.
Yeah, so I think as I look forward to 2025, I'll build on what Anthony just described around the high levels of success and satisfaction, right? And when I think about where we are right now, working with the federal government and partners like SMX around AI, is we're at the innovation and incubation phase of things. And I like to think of 2025 as where we will get to it being intrinsic, all right? It's part of our culture. It's part of how we think about solutions. It's part of how we think about advancing our individual missions. And so there's been a lot of excitement. Like, we're going to spend a lot of today talking about AI as well. And I think as we flip over into 2025, that's going to be part of our day-to-day practice, and it's going to be intrinsic.
Absolutely. Well, we've come a long way in just a year, so it's going to be an even more exciting year next year. Well, Anthony and Jason, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to join us here and just share your perspectives on the adoption and outlook for AI in government.
Thank you, Wyatt.
Thank you, Walt.